collaborations are part and parcel of all the work that I do with commercial fishermen, with artists, with volunteers, school children, with managers, fisheries managers, and the National Park Service.
The seashore, even though in the scheme of things across our planet have relatively clean beaches, we are right on the Atlantic and storms and different currents going on that are releasing here from the Gulf of Maine. So a lot of things wash up on our beaches from other parts of New England and the world. And the park, our volunteer program is able to do maybe one beach cleanup a year, but Laura with her Beach Brigade volunteers can do 20 beach cleanups in a year.
Yeah, I'm a fourth generation shell fisherman from Cape Cod. I run an oyster farm down in Dennis. I've been cleaning up beaches on the Outer Cape for the past, going on 8 to 10 years now. I've surfed out here. I mean, this is pretty much everything that I've lived for.
My name is Michael Rigo. I'm a lobster fisherman out of Provincetown, Massachusetts. When I first started the marine debris program, I'm not gonna lie, it was about making a paycheck because we were closed. It was an income coming in, the boat could still make money. And then as it evolved, I kind of got to know like Laura better, Owen Nichols better, and then it evolved into more than that. I've met some terrific people through this program, some great artists, different scientists.
I guess the key component is the individuals that are self-selected to participate. The collaborators that I work with, it's not like they're formal collaborations. It's like, people across the bay that are interested in my program and starting their own program. So there's a consult that might happen or a field visit that might happen. I just got back from a group last night called Storm Surge in Newburyport, Massachusetts, and they want to start a ghost gear removal program like I have developed here. But the good thing is I just got funded to expand my ghost gear program, so I'll be going to Newburyport. And it's sort of like, it was almost an inevitability that I would be collaborating beyond the Outer Cape, because the problem is much bigger than the Outer Cape.
It's a worldwide problem. It affects everyone, and I hope that seeing this beautiful sculpture and learning more about the plastic on the beaches people will think about, especially using disposable plastics, and think about how we use and dispose of things that were made to last a lifetime, but we use for 2 minutes.
So as you look at it, you can identify the different types of debris that we've cleaned up, I've cleaned up, different pieces of plastic that become the teeth and become the body and the fins and everything else.
I think a really important part of this project is the collaboration between government agencies, science agencies, art, and community. You've got the Provincetown art community, you have coastal studies here, you've got NOAA, you've got artists like myself, but also just community members that are really behind it, the Beach Brigade. You take all of these entities and you put it together and you've got a really powerful group of people that can make a difference.
We really can't do it alone, we can't do it without partners. And the Seashore has been partnering with Center for Coastal Studies for decades now.
There was no program. So at the Center for Coastal Studies, when I arrived, I brought my ghost gear program with me, and I had started that in Maine. But it seemed clear that people were so interested in that work that they wanted to participate in some proactive way.
I really enjoy the program. I almost fell in love with the program, like taking stuff off the bottom and seeing what's in it, and the scientists explaining to you how things, you know what I mean, what this is. Because a lot of the stuff in the traps, you know, like, you never look at it that way. You just think it's like something growing on a trap, and they explain to you what everything is. And then it was more about, you know, getting garbage off the bottom. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff off the bottom that stays fishing, you know, old gill nets. You know, we've gotten toilets, batteries, grills, bicycles. I mean, some of the stuff we catch is crazy.
Consumer debris, construction and demolition debris, the debris that's generated from traffic on the highway that blows out of the back of pickup trucks or whips off of the trucks that are carrying lumber, the plastic film that you find. Waste is generated, marine debris is generated from the waste management areas that we have here on the Cape.
The plastics that are in our body and in our environment really pose an existential problem to humanity. We don't know what those risks are yet. That's what's coming. But certainly this is a worldwide problem that we need to address, and we need to address it sooner rather than later.
I've been a member of the Beach Brigade for over 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. So like with Laura's efforts, I mean, 20 or 25 of us will show up to do a beach cleanup with Laura and sometimes one of her staff. But it's really volunteer driven. So I like that aspect of it. She's been involved in a lot of things locally, but also now some international things. I think she was just in South Korea giving a talk.
Like, I can absolutely tell you that plastic is a problem on this planet. But who cares what I think? Who cares what, you know, what my perception is? I like to back that up with, you know, exposing other folks that work with me to that. So we really immerse in this issue by gathering the debris, recording the data, getting our hands dirty, and looking at it across time and space. You know, it's not isolated to Provincetown, it's everywhere. Even on clean beaches, it's everywhere.
We've worked with Laura Ludwig and the Center for Coastal Studies, and she has the marine debris removal and also a plastics program. Left behind were plastic nets that were held down with giant staples. Over time, the top of the staples degraded, leaving 2 pinpoints sticking out of the ground that were holding down degrading plastic nets. The marine debris would be the spikes sticking up, ready to go into your feet, and the plastic was what they used to be holding down. This whole area is filled with netting and those spikes. We have, over the past numerous years, gotten what we were able to find, but there's still remnants of it out there. So when we see people, dogs running, horses running, children and adults running bare feet, it's a dangerous place. And it's not just the plastics, which are dangerous to the globe. There's a local component of this is a natural environment that people have lived in and left things for hundreds of years.
There's a lot of pluses to what we do. You feel good about doing it. You see a pile of trash that you've collected, either in your bucket that we walk around with the small plastics, or large things that we pile up and either go back that day or at a later point with Laura and the truck, and sometimes with the park rangers, to pick up piles and piles and hundreds of pounds of debris that we collect.
I think the frustration is, it does seem a little insurmountable. We do feel a little powerless about how to combat the issue of plastic in the ocean. And the ocean seems like it's too big to fail. Like, how can we possibly damage the ocean to the extent that, you know, it's going to actually manifest any problems? Well, we're already seeing it. We're already seeing it in algal blooms. We're seeing a lot of this has to do with climate impacts, warming waters. But we have shifting stocks. We have living creatures that are moving to different parts of the ocean as a result of the temperature changes, bringing them in closer contact with habitats they aren't familiar with. You have whales that never used to swim in Canada, now up in Canada all the time, and encountering more fishing gear.
And like, you know, what'll happen, like you get a big boat go by and he'll grab your buoy and he'll drag everything for miles. So you put something here and it's 3 miles away. So now it's like a needle in a haystack. But this year, I mean, we didn't, I think we found 2 traps in 3 or 4 days. That's it. And we covered all the southern part of the bay.
It's not just fishing gear. It's balloons, it's, you know, plastic bags, it's your chip bags. I was just sitting here and I found a little piece of a chip bag stuck in the wedged in the bench here, and that's how it happens. We don't do it deliberately, but we're careless sometimes. I think when you asked about why the program has grown, what can I attribute that to? I think it absolutely has to do entirely with the collaborations, and that has allowed the program to build. And it's a regional thing at this point. As a nonprofit organization, the Center for Coastal Studies seeks funding in a number of different ways. My program, I have always been able to write a proposal, and sometimes I actually get the funding, and that has allowed this program to increase because I was able to build into my proposals a little bit more scope.
Everybody at first thought, well, you're working for the enemy. But I wasn't working for the enemy. I mean, they want us fishing as much as we want it. I'm sure there's people in coastal studies that would like to see us not fishing, but I'm going to say 99% of them want to see us fishing. You know, I mean, yeah, we're closed for a few months, and the grapple, I think the money does help to make up for those months that we're closed. But you got to kind of roll with the times. I mean, if you're going to let everybody go fishing while there's 100 endangered whales here, it's just not going to happen. Then I work with the state in February when they close it, and we do grid patterns to make sure all the gear is retrieved out of the bay.
I like there to be context for the work that I'm doing. So I'm really interested in what other people's concerns are and then helping address those, as well as wrapping people into my concerns.
I guess, yeah, it is worth it because you don't want to see a whale get entangled. You don't want, you know, then the repercussions of somebody getting entangled with a whale isn't just going to be that one guy. It's going to be all of us.
Cutty Hunk was a fabulous project, and it was so organic. It wasn't something on my radar at all. It's just that because of my ghost gear work here in Provincetown and working with the Massachusetts Environmental Police, they had been getting calls from Cutty Hunk for years. You know, can you help us get this lobster gear off our shore? And the residents of Cutty Hunk, and there are not very many of them in the winter, were really kind of beside themselves. Like, what are we gonna do? There's all this lobster gear lying on our shores. I was blown away. There were mountains of lobster traps that residents and visitors had tried to get, you know, collected in one area so that they could at least have some stretch of beach without it. Just the logistics of removing lobster gear are pretty challenging, right? Fishing gear was surrounding this oyster farm, which had been in business for 40 years. Well, it just so happened that the Cutty Hunk funding came through, and instead of coming to Provincetown, I had 14 people from Cornell University come out to Cutty Hunk for a week with me, all of them fully prepared for lots of hard work, working outdoors, getting dirty, working hard, being tired, and collecting all of this debris. And then I also had 5 artists come out with me. We wound up, after all is said and done, we collected over 700 lobster traps. We took all the bricks out of all of them, the ballast, all the concrete runners. So we set those aside so the island could use them for fill or making patios or whatever. That was 1,000 pounds. We got a barge to bring over the containers, the empty containers. We filled the containers using excavators that would, help load these 40-yard roll-off containers. And then they weighed it all. We recycled all the lobster traps as scrap metal, and that was 6,200 pounds. And all of the other stuff was 6,600 pounds. That's rope and net and buoys and Gatorade bottles and broken surfboards and everything you can imagine that we brought together. So the total that we got off of that island was almost 16,000 pounds of trash. The artists have created works either about or with the marine debris, and we're bringing that to the New Bedford Whaling Historical National Park in July and August, and all of the artwork will be on display there. And then we'll take some or all of it, we'll go out to Cuttyhunk, and we'll have a public event out there as well.
It's nice to see trash be turned into real treasure, something where people are happy to see it rather than just be an eyesore on the beach.
We need to look around us and say, how can we pool our talents? Who can we pool our talents with? How can we make a difference? Because we're gonna make a difference. We can move the needle if we work together. But it's very difficult to tackle a problem this big by ourselves.